Well, absolutely. In fact, let's quickly open this up to our guests as well. I'm going to request all reporters to stay on with us because one of the most important aspects is, of course, of trade. There is one issue, of course, which is the huge imbalance in trade between the two countries. We're talking about $64 billion that Russia exports to India, whereas India's exports to Russia are only around $5 billion. And there's, of course, the larger issue of oil, a continuing amount of pressure coming in from the United States to try and reduce Indian import of crude coming in from Russia. Let's quickly bring in our guests and try and look at those aspects and what really is the big announcement that we expect on those grounds. Let's take it across to our guests who are joining us for more on this. We will, in fact, take it across to Prabhu Dayal, former diplomat. Pratikrit Peng is a geopolitical analyst joining us. Rami Desai, author and distinguished fellow of the India Foundation, is with us. We have Surya Jayati, senior fellow of the Atlantic Council and former US diplomat, who's with us. We have Michael Owens, mayor of Mableton, US, also joining us, and Peter Kuznick, author, professor of history and director of Nuclear Studies Institute at the American University. Let me start with you first. Prabhu Dayal, what are we expecting? We have seen, of course, how India had increased its import of crude from Russia under pressure from the United States, as we all remember, during the Biden regime. The Trump regime has a very different approach and has been pressuring India to cut down on those imports of crude, and particularly with the sanctions kicking in, we have seen those numbers coming down. What are we looking at in terms of today's meeting and in terms of your expectations? Are we likely to see any kind of formal announcement in this regard? Mr. Dayal.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. Let me mention that while India has indicated to the United States that it would try to reduce oil imports from Russia, there is no indication whatsoever that we will stop buying. Because oil purchases from Russia suit us in terms of their economic advantage. We get a huge discount and we need oil. Now, let me mention there is a lot of talk about the huge trade imbalance, that Russia's exports are much, much more than those of India. This is because of the energy supplies from Russia. And frankly, we should not worry too much about this trade imbalance because we are getting the oil at such discounted rates. And this oil purchase is, affecting the trade imbalance. Let me also mention that the ongoing talks between India and Russia will look at a number of issues. For instance, of course, the United States is pressurizing us in regard to oil purchases, but we are trying to see how we circumvent the problem and put in place payment systems which would not impact our purchases. The payment systems could be either directly in local currencies, rupee, ruble, or they could be in third country currencies. So Let me put it this way. The situation is very fluid. We do want a good relationship with the United States. We don't want the US to be upset about our oil purchases. But, and this is a fundamental but, we have to look at our own needs and requirements.